You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 140, How to Create Everything I Ever Wanted with My Ex. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, breakup coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, my beautiful Bravehearts. How is everyone doing? I am so excited. It is my birthday week and I am just celebrating. Last year, we did a really fun episode where I talked about all of my past relationships and what that looked like for me. What are the biggest lessons that I learned? And this year, I thought it would be really fun because I've been all about this building of the next chapter, creating things that are impossible. And I feel like my life's on fire right now and I'm just having so much fun. So if this is your first episode, welcome. I am so excited to have you here. I would highly recommend starting with at least episodes 1 through 5 so you get like the ground rules of what's happening in this podcast. This is more of like a fun podcast, and I'm not going to talk too much about the basics of what I teach here. Now, I really want to talk about how to create everything you ever wanted with your ex. And I think what's been fascinating throughout my journey as a coach are the things that keep people from really fully leaning into creating everything you ever wanted with your ex on your own. And we're going to talk about it here today. And I sometimes go back and read this email that I wrote to my ex when I am about to do something live or something really big in my business is coming up, just to like think back to that 26-year-old version of myself and say, thank you, girl. I know you were a hot mess, but you still continued forward. And one of the things that I stated in the very last part of that email was, I need to build my own life and someone can join that later. But if I build it, no one else will be able to take it away from me like you did. And I feel like that's like baby breakup coach Dorothy that just stated that. I didn't even know I was going to become a breakup coach, but that was in 2016. And as you all know, if you've listened to the podcast, I spent a long time after that really, really figuring that out. Building a life, I was very committed and determined to figuring out how can I create everything I wanted with you on my own so that when my partner does come, they're just the cherry on top. And if that cherry rolls off the sundae, no big deal. I have created everything I ever wanted. They don't take it all with them. And I mean, 2017 was a hot mess because I was still trying to figure out how to get over my ex, how to forgive and let go. And I found myself in a new relationship where I was realizing that I had repeat patterns happening, like jealousy and insecurity. And, oh my gosh, like he's doing nothing, but what if he falls in love with some new girl? And starting arguments in hopes that that person will make me feel better. So 2017 was kind of like an interesting time for me. And I worked a lot on my relationship and still figuring out how to get over my ex. 2018 felt like a turning point for me. That's when I enrolled into the life coach school to be a life coach. I worked on career, I worked on money, I worked on how can I create a lot of the result outcomes that I wanted with my ex on my own. Even though I was in a relationship, I was still creating all those outcomes for myself. And then in 2019 is when I started the breakup coaching business, and I had like 3 jobs and I was figuring out how to become a full-time coach. I started the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast. And really things started to like blossom and form at that point. And I started to realize like, wow, I am actually creating everything I wanted with my ex on my own. And then 2020 was an interesting year for all of us. And I really started taking my personal life to where I wanted it to be, because I felt like I had created money. I felt I had created a career and a purpose. And then my personal life, that's when I started making some really pretty drastic changes to go out and create the personal life that I thought that I wanted with my ex, but obviously on my own. So living in Florida. And then I want to be married and have a baby and all of that. So moving to Florida felt like the next best step for that. And it was an amazing time. And then 2021 was when I really took all of that again to a next level and created this personal life that I was so in love with. And just, I cherish it so much. Got baby Tinkerbell. It's amazing. Jake, my cherry on top, all of that. So ever since the breakup in 2016, I have been really working towards building that bigger and better life on my own in a way that no one can take it away from me. And this doesn't mean that humans can't do something to harm me. Now, they can't hurt my emotions, right? Like they can't hurt me emotionally without my permission. But at the same time, I'm acknowledging and I'm recognizing that I create every single result, every single outcome in the world, regardless of my circumstances, regardless of whether or not my ex is in my life, regardless of whether or not my friends or family are in my life, or maybe that's a pandemic, whatever is going on in the world. I get to choose what my results are, and I get to work towards those results and create those. And in the past, however many years it's been, at this point, it has been proving to myself that I am capable of creating anything I've ever wanted, regardless of what other people are doing. And that to me is all about the relationship you have with yourself. And having a relationship where you have your own back, no matter what. That is what it's like to create everything you ever wanted with your ex on your own. To have a relationship with yourself where you're like, yes, boo, you want that? We're going to go get it. Isn't that kind of crazy to think about? You probably, at least for myself, I remember being like, asking my partner, my ex at the time, or my ex now partner at the time, being like, I really want this. And if he said it was a no, I kind of like just let it be a no. Instead of just being like, oh, I can do this on my own. It's going to be amazing. It's so amazing to have a life where you feel so solid and certain and secure in who you are and what you want, and then you go out and you create it. And that's what I want for all Bravehearts in the entire world. If I was able to get a gift in the world for my birthday, it'd be that, to know that every single person who listens to my podcasts walks away with the confidence and the certainty and the security in themselves to be whoever they want to be, create whatever life they want to create, and not be reliant on their ex ever, or a partner, period, ever. Now, the things that I see come up for when I'm talking about this concept, there are two sticking points that I want to talk about today that I think are important to address so that you're not keeping yourself from living in that place because of these two things. The first one is, people think that build it on your own means you're going to be alone forever. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, oh, you have to build this on your own so that then you can be alone and you get good on your own. And then you can be in a relationship. Or I'm not telling you that you have to be alone. You will not be alone forever. And if you want to be a mom or you want to be a wife, when I'm talking about build it on your own, if you want to do that with a partner, you can do that with a partner. But that's a result that you create, and it's not dependent on your ex, and it's not dependent on your circumstances. It's dependent upon your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And I want you to see that. When I'm saying build it on your own, I'm not talking about being alone forever. And I'm also not talking about that whole cliche idea of, I have to get good on my own before I can experience a good relationship. I need to be single to grow. I grew the most in 2017, 2018, and 2019, all while I was in a relationship with someone who is now my ex. And it was a beautiful space for me to learn that. And I grew so much. And I grew so much in learning how to navigate a relationship with all the tools that I have. I'm so grateful for that. You grow in relationships. You grow in the relationship with yourself. You grow in relationships with others. So I don't want you not going out and creating everything that you wanted with your ex because you think you have to do it on your own and that you're going to be alone forever. That is not the case. And the second thing that I hear is that it's harder to build it on your own than with a partner. And I really beg to differ. Building what you want with another human almost always involves some sort of compromise, compromising on your wants or compromising on the timeline, compromising on the way you want it, or compromising on learning bravery and skill sets, your own ability, showing yourself what you're actually capable of. To me, it's more difficult to be reliant on someone else than it is for me to just learn the skill and then show up, show myself I can do it, and get it done. I'm the type of person that did not like group projects. Relying on other people is not something I like. And that doesn't mean that I don't outsource things in my life too. I have gotten good at just recognizing that I don't have to be attached to this one person. If this person can't get the job done, there will be someone else who can, and they're probably going to be better at it. So we're going to go in and this is what I need. This is what I want done. And I am responsible for creating the result that I want, not this contractor. And if this contractor can't deliver on what I want, then I'm going to find someone else who can. Because there are things in the world that I just can't do on my own. Or maybe I shouldn't say can't, but I don't want to do on my own. So recognize that maybe you're telling yourself it's harder to build it on my own than it was with my ex. And what if you weren't dependent on your ex? What if it was actually easier to create the result, the overall result that you wanted on your own? I even think about being a mom and a wife. It was so hard to try to be a mom and a wife with my most recent ex, who didn't want to get married to me, who didn't want to talk about engagement, who didn't want to talk about getting married, who didn't want to talk about being a parent. That was really hard. And it was a completely different experience when I was like, I want to be married and I want to have a baby. And I aligned with myself with that. And I said, I'm going to go out and create that. I'm committed to creating that. And then I found a partner who wanted to get married, who wanted to have a baby. And that was way more easy. Is that a word? That was easier. And it was way more fun. It was just organic and it flowed and it clicked and it was in gear. I was watching this show called The Ultimatum on Netflix. And it's a very interesting show. And all of them were trying to change things about their partner to get them to marry them. And it just, that's what the world we live in right now looks like sometimes, where we're trying to change other people or change something instead of just being committed to what we want and then finding someone who naturally and organically wants those same wants with us. It's a completely different space to be in. So I want you to do two things. I want you to recognize and I want you to remember. If you can take anything away from today's episode, I want you to recognize and remember that building the life you wanted with your ex on your own doesn't mean alone. It means regardless of what your ex is doing, I'm building the life that I want. I'm moving forward and I'm creating every outcome I want, regardless of what he or she is doing. And the second one is recognize and remember that building the life you wanted with your ex on your own isn't harder than doing it with your ex. It's actually a lot easier. And how freeing and relieving does that feel? And I want to leave you today with some questions because you know me, journaling prompts. There's 3 categories. I want you to ask yourself, am I allowing myself to want what I want? Am I acknowledging my authentic desires? What does a life bigger and better mean for me? Don't look at what you think you should be going for, what you should be good with. What is it for you? Allow yourself to really fully embody those authentic desires. The second category is taking ownership of all of the outcomes that you've created in your life, good and bad. How did I create such an amazing relationship with my ex? What did I believe about myself that created the most ideal relationship? What did I believe about me, and how did I feel about myself to create the most epic outcomes in my life? And then the last category is, where am I outsourcing the results or the outcomes that make my bigger and better life? And this is going to be an area that may feel sticky or heavy or resistant. To me, it feels like I'm swimming upstream. You notice it when you're like, why do I keep hitting all these obstacles? Like it feels like you can't move forward without this person, or it might feel sticky, like you feel like attached to someone or something working out. So I want you to ask yourself, what makes me think I'm not capable of doing this? Is there someone else who can get the job done? What would feel simple here? What would be the easiest solution? All right, my brave hearts. I want you to know that you can and you will build the life you wanted with your ex, but it's going to be so much bigger and it's going to be so much better because you built it. And by building it on your own, no one's ever going to be able to take it from you like your ex did. And remember, that doesn't mean you are alone in building the bigger and better life, or that it's going to be harder to do it on your own than it was with your ex. But it means you learn how to create whatever you wanted in your life, regardless of what other humans are doing in the world. And you do that through, one, identifying and allowing yourself to want the most authentic desires, allowing those to come through. Two, taking ownership of what you've created this far. And three, figuring out if and when and who you're outsourcing your outcomes to. All right, my brave hearts, I hope you have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.